A very warm good morning to everyone and welcome to another edition of the SAI Alumni Talk. I'm here today to take you through another amazing journey of a SAIoneer where we have an enlivening ride along with the course of monumental scenario where talents and geniuses descend to write immortal and memorable stories, but with a difference. Our pioneers have often left their indelible mark wherever they have gone ahead in life. They not only shine like the stars in the galaxy, but also are the guiding stars to our existing pioneers, for which our alumni talks take place. Our alumnus have undoubtedly been inspired, motivated, and guided very ably by our founder, Dr. Vijay Kumar Sahu, and our pioneers are indeed so fortunate and blessed to have such a motivator like our esteemed chairman at every step here at SAI. Today, because of him and his efforts, we are to witness another success story. We have with us today an alumni all the way. He's none other than Ankit Sahu, who passed his class 12 in 2014 with a CGPA score of 10. Ankit Sahu has a bachelor's degree in accounting, finance, and economics from the Ritsumeikan Asia Pacific University, Japan. His hometown is in Jamshedpur, and presently he resides in Tokyo, Japan. In 2004, after seeking admission at the RAP University, Japan, he went on to have a short-term exchange to the Akita International University in 2017 and 2018. His experience varies from working as an intern at the Nomura Securities Japan to an advisor to the CSO of Chikaro Moto Holdings, Tokyo. As an analyst, 2019 to 2020, and presently as a senior consultant, M&A division at Kearney Counterpart. His skills include being a financial planner at the F1 and F2 and the Japanese language proficiency test N1 and the pre-advanced level of the Python prediction analysis. Ankit's industry knowledge include equity analysis, sales prediction, models, supply basic chain modeling, ads promotion analysis through MA tools, basic digital marketing knowledge, and financial reporting. Ankit's success story include being the coveted winner of the Business Enclave Competition 2015, where he presented the Reading Rainbow as an initiative to boost local encouragement through libraries, securing the third place in the Copenhagen Business Case Challenge. He also secured the second position in the Japan Business Case Challenge, being the recipient of the 100% tuition reduction scholarship, which was about £2,000 for 2 years, and the National Japan Scholarship with a monthly of £500 for almost 3 years. Ankit was also an intern at the UN headquarters for SDG 8 and researched on global labor issues with a team of almost 17 individuals across 13 different countries. Now, I take this opportunity to humbly request our beloved Vice Chairperson, Dr. Shilpi Sahu, to address all of us.
Good morning, everyone. Ankit, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. With your Japanese background, I think you're looking more like a Japanese student now. I'm a Japanese person. But, anyways, I have known Ankit, and have seen him grow since he was a little child, studying at SAI, and more so because he was a very dear friend of both my sons, Vishal and Sahu. So, to be very honest, I'm not surprised at all by everything that Ankit has achieved today. He has always been a star. I still remember him as a kid who wanted to participate and excel at every opportunity that existed. But I'm extremely, extremely proud and happy to see Ankit do so well in his life, beating all odds in a country where you don't even know the language, don't even know the people. It was not an easy task for him. And but Ankit has yet again proved that he is different from the rest. I mean, as Sir says, that be the best or be different from the rest. So Ankit has actually proven that. And I by now I think Ankit, you have mastered the Japanese language also. And so God bless you, Ankit, and hope you invite all of us soon to Japan to see the city. And let's start an exchange program with the schools in Japan also. And one more thing, Ankit, today Sir is actually has got a government meeting, so he could not be present here. He's got a meeting with the CM, some decisions to be taken. So he could not be present, but he has sent his best wishes. So all the
Okay.
best, and you can carry on. Thank you. Thank you, Swati. You can carry on.
Thank you, ma'am. You always inspire us with your kind words. And now we have a small surprise for Ankit, which is called Down the Memory Lane. So just hold in there, Ankit, for a few more minutes till the floor is all yours.
यारी तेरी यारी चल माना इस बारी सारी मेरी फिक्रें तेरे आगे आके हारी यारी तेरी यारी चल माना इस बारी सारी मेरी फिक्रें तेरे आगे आके हारी तू वह लगी मुझको तेरी बीमारी इस बेढंगी दुनिया के संगी हम न होते यारा अपनी तो यारी अतरंगी है रे हर बेरंगी शामें हुड़दंगी मस्त मलंगी यारा अपनी तो यारी अतरंगी है रे अतरंगी रे
So, Ankit, how was the surprise?
The only thing that has changed over these past years that is my weight. That's it. Nothing else has changed.
But honestly, how did you like it?
Nostalgic. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
did you
was
like
so
it?
nostalgic. It was so nostalgic. Made me realize how many friends we had and how many of those I haven't talked to them in so many years. So
Ankit, I clearly remember you as a boy of around 13, 14 years who was so desirous and, so keen to take admission in SAI. And if I'm not mistaken, I was the one who guided your father about how to go about with the admission process. And I'm so happy you were a part of an esteemed institution. And without further ado, the floor is all yours, Ankit. So as they say in Japanese, please correct me if I'm wrong. Yoko so. Did I get it right?
Yeah, it was right. It was right. It means
Okay,
welcome.
so welcome, Ankit. The floor is all yours.
So thank you for the wonderful introduction, and thank you, Shilvi ma'am. Thank you, Shweta ma'am. And honestly, I never expected to see so many people listening to my talk, and the only thing that the only thing that I would want everyone to take back from today is what I have experienced, and not only what I've experienced, but also what lessons I've learned through all these experiences. And of course, I would be really open to anyone who would personally contact me and asking about how to do whatever you want to do with your life. And if I could be a support at the end of this talk, then it would be a great pleasure of mine. So beginning, I just made a very simple presentation, just exploring my life, and it made me go back to SAI International School, and that was 2014. And when I graduated SIS, SAI International School, and then from there on, I went on new adventure, and as introduced, I went to Japan. It's American Asia Pacific University with a 100% tuition scholarship for 4 years. So why did I choose Japan at that point of time was, I think one thing that stuck with me through all the years at SAI International School is trying to be the best or be different from the rest. I saw a lot of people going to America, UK, and a lot of other Western universities, but not a lot of students going to Eastern universities. And while trying to apply for colleges, I came upon APU as a very, very unique college, which I'm going to explain later how unique it is. And I thought this opportunity would never come again in my life. So to jump on a new adventure is where it all started from 2014. Then from 2015 to 2017 is where I tried to step out of my comfort zone, learn Japanese, started interning at a Japanese company. And the biggest, the most unexpected thing that I did in those 3 years is did a part-time job at a Japanese restaurant. And again, I'm going to explain later why it was very helpful in my development and how it helped me to be the person I am today. But yeah, these 3 years from 2015 to 2017 were, I think, would be the most prime years of my life till now. And then 2018 is where I graduated APU, and then I had an opportunity to go for a short-term exchange program to a different university to learn about, again, a different part of Japan and to meet with different people from different aspects of life. And I also got my first-hand working experience at a Japanese company, working as an equity analyst and a business analyst at first. And from here on, that started my career for the last 3 years, where I took a risk and then I left a very prestigious Japanese company and joined a very mediocre Japanese food and beverages company, which I'm going to explain why I took that risk and why that led to where I am today. And finally, right now, I'm currently working in a company called Y Combinator as a senior business analyst, and currently a strategy advisor to 4 different companies and also doing their M&A project. So this is a very brief timeline of both my career and my university life after SAI International School. So beginning, I really thought about what I would want to speak to, class 10, 11, and 12 students, and then realized that maybe if I speak about my life, then it might sound boring. So let's talk about something that they might take home and also learn a couple of Japanese words, because I feel more comfortable talking Japanese these days than talking English. So this is my first 2 lessons and it's in Japanese. So maybe let's see if all of you remember by the end of today's talk. So first is, I'm sure you don't know what this means and it looks really weird, but this means Ichigo Ichie. And what does Ichigo Ichie mean? So Ichigo means once in a lifetime, and Ichie means what, an encounter, an opportunity. So when you put these 2 together, it just means an opportunity that comes once in a lifetime. This is a very famous Japanese saying that has been passed on since eons. And why I took this quote for today is because I believe that opportunities that come to you, they only come once in a lifetime. Reflecting back on that once in a lifetime opportunity was choosing the university. And I chose APU, it's American Asia Pacific University, not because I got a full 100% reduction scholarship or because it was outside India and I wanted to go outside India, but because of these 4 reasons. It has a very vast multicultural, it still has a very vast multicultural environment, and it provides education in two languages, which is English and Japanese. And it has a quarter system and a very vast alumni network. So what do I mean by these four things is APU is a very unique college where if you see this chart, it's half of the students, more than half of the students are international students, and domestic students are students from Japan. So it provides a very balanced environment where you can always learn about Japanese culture. You can always learn about how to speak in Japanese while interacting with students from all over the world. And when I say all over the world, it is really all over the world, because APU has more than 5,000 students in total, and out of those, 50% are from more than 50 different countries. And that's really amazing, because it's like a small United Nations. And the one thing that in the past 4 years that has helped me the most in APU is I made so many friends from so many different countries that whenever I visit a country, let's say for a business trip, or I just want to visit a country, I definitely have a place to sleep for free, because we have so many friends, and there is definitely a single connection from that single country that they always are open. Oh, you can come stay with me, or let's hang out. And in return, obviously, when they come to India, I would love to host them, but it hasn't happened as of yet, but yes. So talking about the multicultural environment comes to the second main point, which is bilingual education. So AP provides courses, a lot of courses actually, and both in Japanese and English. So obviously, in the beginning, we don't know Japanese, and as a new student who can't speak a single word of Japanese, I took all the classes in English. But once I got used to it, I took classes in Japanese as well, which actually helped me a lot, because it trained you how to work in a Japanese company. Because of course the academics are not that difficult as you would compare to the Western universities, but what APU teaches you the best is how to be a good leader, how to be good at communication. So basically, you learn a lot of life skills at this university. And then there's this quarter system where generally universities in Western universities, also India, they have semesters. They have semester-based system. So basically, a year is divided into 2 semesters. But in APU, we had quarter system. So basically, a year is divided into 4 quarters. What is the advantage of having 4 quarter systems is you can take a multitude of classes, and you can take classes, let's say, from learning about how to drink tea in the proper Japanese way, to, let's say, finance classes in the same quarter. So they have so many vast variety of classes, and they give you 4 periods in a year to change the classes and to think about what major you want to do. So it's very flexible, and it actually hones you till the second year of your university on what major you want to do. And finally, the vast alumni network. So in this chart, as you can see, there are a lot of students from APU that have graduated for the past over years, and they work in more than 485 institutions, reputed institutions all over the world. This number doesn't include, obviously, the companies that are mid-level companies. These companies are top class and very reputed companies all over the world, and the alumni network is really strong. And also, because of this strong alumni network, a lot of companies do come to AP for the recruitment processes, which takes the success rate of the average employment of an AP student to 95.6%. So basically, the past 4 years in AP, they train you on how to be a very, very good leader in communication, and also how to work in a multicultural environment, as well as be very flexible with your work and living styles. So these 4 reasons were the main reasons as to why I chose APU over a lot of different universities. I actually got a 60% scholarship into New York University, but I chose APU over that, even though the ranking isn't that good compared to NYU. But thinking about it now, I think I don't regret 1 single percent the risk I took at that point of time, because I wouldn't be the same person that I'm right now if I hadn't enrolled into APU. So moving on, which comes into my next quote for today is "Go ni hareba, go ni shitagaira." it's a very common quote. I think everyone has heard about it. It's when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So obviously, I think a lot of everyone would have heard about this quote, but what does it actually really mean? So when I first came to APU, when I first came into Japan, I really didn't know anything about Japan apart from animes or TV shows. And also, I wasn't a very big fan of anime, or even now, I'm not a big fan of anime or anything. But yeah, so when I first came in Japan, I thought, let's see what the Japanese people are really like. So I traveled a lot in the first 6 months, in the first 1 year. And I went to a lot of local places, especially around my university, and then tried to make a lot of friends and from different regions of Japan. So when I was in APU, we lived in a dormitory where my floor consisted of half of this dormitory people were Japanese and half of them were international students. Even in this picture, there's, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Japanese people. There's one Indonesian guy, there's one Korean, there's one Vietnamese, and there's one Indian, which is me. So it's very multicultural. And the first 6 months, we all stay together, we cook together, we hang out together, we study together, we do our homeworks together, and which led us to creating this really good bond. And I picked up Japanese very fast during that 6 months, because most of the Japanese students, they can't speak English. So to be friends with them and to have a proper communication with them, you have to learn Japanese, because that's the only way you can convey what you want to say. So these are some pictures. So this was a multicultural event which was organized by each floor of our dormitory, and we perform a dance. And actually, I couldn't upload the video, but I trained these two guys to dance to Chikni Chameli, and yeah, that was really fun. And we actually practiced the dance in less than 2 days, so it was really good. And both of these guys, they have my kurti, and they still have it, and they keep on texting me that sometimes I wear this kurti to sleep. Okay. So yeah, so it was a very multicultural environment in APU. Which brings me to the next step. When I said 2015 to 2017 is what I mean, I tried to get out of my comfort zone. And what I meant by that is trying to do things which are not normally acceptable in, let's say, India. So I started working as a dishwasher at first I was a dishwasher, obviously, in a Japanese restaurant. And I never planned on working part-time job, because I never really thought it would help me a lot. It was just a waste of time, just a way of getting extra money. But then I realized once I started working, and then I moved up to being a waiter, and then I started working in the kitchen, then I started serving drinks. Then it brought me to a lot of opportunities. For example, I was on TV, and then Japanese national TV, and then we had I made I made butter chicken masala for one of Japanese TV announcers, and they came into my house and shot it. So while doing the part-time job, it led me to a lot of these connections that helped me move on to a different part of life. So I worked in this restaurant for more than 3 years, and I think it was the most. I don't think it was the most important part of my life, because I learned so many things about working with Japanese people, which is very different from rest of the world, because they are very diligent, very hardworking, and those basic things that we don't know about the work lifestyle of Japanese, which is very different from the Western civilization, is what I learned in those 3 years, and which experience that I gained in those 3 years helped me build up a career which has led me to where I am right now. So yeah, so on the left, you can see these 3 people were very, how do I say? They were common. They used to come almost once a week to eat at the restaurant. And so this was her birthday. So I had a nickname because Ankit in Japanese is Ankito, and it is very hard to pronounce. So they used to call me Anchan. So that was my name. And this nickname actually got me very famous in the local community, because how can I, because Anchan in Japanese means a very cute brother kind of a guy, but looking at this face, there's nothing cute about it. So I think a lot of that the difference in the appearance and the qualities of me made me very popular amongst the local community where I was working at. And yeah, so this was a very interesting TV series where they go to every university and they go to the houses of international students and ask them to cook one single dish from their motherland. So I wasn't a very good cook at first. Right now, I think I'm a very good cook, but in the beginning, I really didn't know what to make. So I just took some spices and then made something and just called it, I added butter in the end and said it's butter chicken masala. And Japanese people are really polite. And also it was on television, so he couldn't say it was really bad, but he said it was really good. But at the end, when I tried it, it wasn't as good as I thought it was. Yeah. And then back to university life, we had a lot of opportunities in APU, so which was not a common thing for Western universities. For example, I had a lot of opportunity doing working as a teaching assistant. So this was my class. So this is my partner, and so we have half students are Japanese, half of the students are from different countries apart from Japan. So I was responsible for the international side and my partner was responsible for the Japanese side. So we had to work together and teach the entire class about how to do group works, how to do a good presentation. So I was a TA for this particular class for a couple of years, I think 2 or 3 years. Well, we do get paid, but it's not the money we do it for. It's also about the experience, and we get to teach a lot of students a lot of good things. And sometimes also because professors can be very strict and uptight. So having students as teaching assistants and have them teach in the class is again a different story. And it was a very fun experience. And I think a lot of them, they still send me postcards when they get a new job. So recently, one of the Japanese students that I had in 2016, she got a job into the previous company where I was working. And so she sent me a postcard with a couple of chocolates. So yeah, that was very sweet of her. And then this is the picture below is about GBCC, which is Global Business Case Competition. It's where it's a platform where we invited more than 12 different universities from all over the world. For example, UBC, and then we also invited University of Southern California. So they were very famous. Also Seoul University, and then universities from Thailand. So we invited 12 different universities from all different world and from all parts of the world, and we presented them a case that they had to solve in 24 hours. So I was a part of that team, and then we organized everything from the logistics to sponsorships. So we had sponsorships from Audi, Lamborghini, where they presented actual real cases that their company is facing currently. And the winner, they get a 6-month internship program at the company as well as a cash prize, where they actually work with the CSO of the company to solve that current management issue. So I participated in that. It was a very long process. It took us almost 6-7 months to organize the entire event from the logistics, because you had to get teams of more than 10 people from so many different parts of the world. It was really difficult, but at the end, it was really fulfilling. And then in 2016, I had this very amazing opportunity to be part of this group called World Merit. And with them, I was one of the 360 people that was selected to present an action plan, which they called it Action Plan 001. What was Action Plan 001 is we were divided into different SDGs. As you know, SDGs are self-development goals, and so sustainable development goals. And I was part of the goal 8, which is promote sustained and inclusive sustainable economic growth. So we had to come up with an action plan on how to tackle one of the subsegments of those SDGs. And after coming up with the action plan, we were supposed to pitch it at the UNGA in front of a lot of VCs and a lot of investors who would actually take the plan to the next level. So it was a 3-minute elevator pitch. And we worked for it for a couple of months to just create the idea for the pitch. But in the end, there were a couple of, we didn't get selected for the final round, but there were a couple of groups that got selected and they are working at it right now. So yeah, that was a really good experience where I spent 2 months in New York, and in a we were 360 students, from not just students, we were also professionals. There were, let's say, in my group, I had people who were working for banks, and then in graduate schools. I think I was the youngest with a couple of others in that group, and every one of them was from different countries. So it was again a very multicultural group work focused event. And then in 2017, no, actually in 2018 January. So after spending 3 years in Asia, it's America and APU, I went to a different college as an exchange student. So this is actually the library of the college that I went for the domestic exchange program. So it was in a very remote location called Akita, which is north of Japan. And it's very, very cold. It goes to minus 20 degrees. And I spent 3 months over there. My main reason as to why I chose Akita was because I wanted to write my thesis over there. So I took the opportunity, and I had this opportunity of taking the exchange, and everything was for free. And I went there. So I wrote my thesis for 3 months over there, also while taking other classes. And at that point of time, Ankit International University again was a completely different university than the university that I was originally into. Why? Because it was a very small university with very small classes, but the quality of those classes were, again, it was something out of the other world. I still remember I was taking classes for programming in Python while studying for finance, while listening to Japanese movies and commenting about Japanese dramas. So these three various classes from, let's say, from programming, finance, and arts, I was doing at the same time at every single day. And I could change my classes every month. So I took a lot of different classes to learn from a lot of different professors. I still remember I also took a class on reading poetry in English. And we learned about what memes are, what jokes are, and we had a class on that. So it was a wide variety of classes. And again, I met a lot of different people over there, people who are now very famous in Akita itself, because I had a group of friends, 3 of those who started a startup promoting the regional agriculture and promoting people to consume more from their own cities rather than buying from somewhere else. So that was a really good experience. Even though it was for 3 months, I think I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot in those 3 months. Although I couldn't finish my thesis during that point of time, but the library, this library was again a state-of-the-art library, and it had books from all over the world. I had never seen a library like this, and it was. I think I spent a lot of time in this library. I used to be there till 5 o'clock in the morning, and then go to sleep, and then wake up at 1 o'clock, go to the classes, and then that was what we do. Because it was snowing all the time, we couldn't go out, and the university was very far away from the city as well. So I think most of us, we just spend time at the library or spend time at dorms playing games. That's it. But yeah, this library was really beautiful. So I think this was the my university life, where the 2 lessons that I learned from these 4 years of being a student in Japan is how to be, do when in Rome, do what the Romans do. That's the one thing which taught me that first you have to be flexible, and you can't accept that you can't be that person that you want everyone else to be flexible to you. You have to be flexible to the environment that you are. Obviously there are a lot of people who have a lot of restrictions, as in also food restrictions, and it's very difficult for them to survive in Japan. And give an example, there are a lot of vegetarians who come to Japan, let's say, and they can't eat outside because there's a lot of things that are not vegetarian in Japan. But there's always a way that you can go around with it, and you can always cook for yourself. So that's how you have to be flexible in an environment, especially when you don't really know what the environment you're going to holds for you. So this is one lesson that I learned from the 4 years of university life, where I think I met a lot of different people, a lot of different people from, again, different cultures, backgrounds, and how to respect all of those and still be friends with them without hurting their feelings. So these lessons, I think, helped me again into my career life, because once getting into a company and how to be flexible with working with different people from, especially Japanese people, and also not just Japanese people, also people from different parts of life, was very important. And I think the 4 years of university helped me realize how flexibility is a very important thing that we have to hone in our perspective. And then I think this next lesson that I think I learned in the past 5-6 years of being in Japan is not just being in Japan, just working as 4 years as a student and 3 years working right now, is called delayed gratification. What is delayed gratification? This is a very business financial term where you hold something, where you hold your urges to do it later. For example, let's say I want to watch TV right now. I want to play video games right now. And I have a homework for, let's say, 10 minutes, which I can complete in 10 minutes. Should I complete my homework first and then play? Or should I play and then do my homework? I wouldn't say, it's again up to your choice as to what you choose first. But in the general world where leaders are very respected because of the choices, so this mindset tells you that you should complete what you have to do first and then do your desires later. So this was a very difficult point for me, because how to balance my desires and my goals. Should I hang out with my friends and then study for my Japanese test, or should I study for my Japanese test first, complete it, and then hang out with my friends? Because I lose out on both. Let's say if I study for my Japanese test right now, I can't make connections. But if I don't make connections and study for my Japanese test, I would get a good score in my Japanese test. So making that priority decision is very difficult, and it only comes through experience, and it only comes through, let's say, making a lot of mistakes. Obviously, everyone would think, as a good student, as a good responsible student, it's always good to study first and then hang out later. But that's not always the correct solution. So this lesson, I think, is I'm still learning, because how to prioritize my work or my private life before something else, or before doing something which matters to me more, and then going on to my first priorities, is what I think I'm going to learn more from now on through a lot of experiences. So, but obviously, one thing that everyone, everyone tells you is, obviously, पहले पढ़ाई कर लो फिर TV देखो. So obviously, that is the main logic behind this point. But again, it's not always right. So it's also very this later gratification, this concept of delayed gratification is always used in stocks, because do you want to buy a current stock right now, or do you want to put it on hold or buy it later when it's less? I wouldn't say, because you never know the future. If you do it now, and then if you buy it now, it might go up tomorrow. But if you buy it now, it might also go down tomorrow. So that predictive analysis is very important, and it only comes through experience. So how I took this method and how I learned, as in how I put it into effect, is for 3 years in university, I think I had a lot of fun. Of course, I didn't lack out on my GPA. I had to maintain a GPA of more than 3.5 to retain my scholarship. Obviously, I did study, but then academics was not always my priority for the first 3 years. So what happened during those 3 years is I learned how to make a lot of connections, how to make a lot of friends, do a lot of different things, from working in a Japanese restaurant, then going for let's say doing business case challenges, then doing a lot of extracurriculars, which always is a part of academics, but is not academics. So how do I, let's say, how do I come up with the time that I lost for the past 3 years? How do I cope up with that? How do I make invest in invest in myself for 1 year, which I have left in the university, that I need to make up for academics? So the only thing that I had in mind is that obviously I can't bring back the time for the past 3 years. I don't regret any. I don't regret a single decision that I took for the past 3 years, but I had to be more serious about what I really want to do with my life. Then I really thought about that time is, okay, I have made a lot of connections right now. So let's go on a more career making path. So I applied for internship in Nomura Securities. So Nomura Securities, not just securities, is Nomura is a very old Japanese company, and it's a very old financial institution, and it's very huge in Japan. It's a very respected company. It's a very how do I say, old company, and they have a lot of traditions. They have a lot of cultures, so it's very difficult to get into that company. I was lucky enough to get into an internship, and at first I was a business analyst as an intern. I was just doing reports, but then for my second intern, I started doing equity analysis. So what is equity analysis? Is basically, in very simple terms, is just three things. It's either you buy, sell, or hold, and either you buy a stock, you sell a stock, or you hold a stock. These three terms, and equity analysis are the ones who make reports, are the ones who make predictions, are the ones who make, let's say, calls on, oh, you should hold this stock for now, you should buy this stock for now. This is a very simple understanding of what an equity analysis does. So I was working for the Asia Pacific region, and actually, this is a very old picture. I don't look like this at all right now. And this is the Nomura Nomura Securities headquarters in Japan. And actually, no phones are allowed inside the building. You get what is it called? I can't remember the English word for it, but it's used in hospitals a lot, and it's kind of like a clicker where if your clicker clicks, then you go to the person who is calling you for the meeting, or who wants to talk with you. So no phones are allowed inside the building, and it's a very secure place because a lot of stock trading happens on a very daily basis. So yeah. So this is where I think I again. Okay, I have made a lot of connections. I hung out with a lot of my friends. So now it's time to focus on my career. This is what led me towards working for Nomura Shoken. And then from here, I started on my career building life. So where I went on to work for a food and beverages company. But before that, I would like to explain the Japanese working culture. So this is basically when you get inside a company, they have a very, very prolonged recruitment process. And once you clear that, you have a very tedious, how do I say, kenshu? What is it called? It's a training process for freshly hired graduates. So we went to this place. It's actually owned by Nomura, where it's a very far away place from Tokyo, and we do a lot of trainings from 5 o'clock in the morning. There's this thing called voice training where you have to sing a song so that your voice is at a particular level. Then you do exercises, and then you do discussions. So this is a very famous group in Japan. It's called Taiko, where it's kind of like a drum performance with drama. And this is a very international group, and their training, which means the source of your power. And it's a very, very traditional company. And again, it's a very Japanese company in aspects to, they have so many culturally wrong and correct things that you can do while working over there. It was very strict, but it was very fulfilling. So they have a brand called Ippudo. It's basically a very famous ramen brand in Japan. And they also had they have a lot of stores outside Japan as well. So I was part of this company, and I was working with the CSO. And the two major things that I did while working for Chikano Moto was Number one was I helped in acquiring an Australian brand so that they could start their business in Australia. And second, I was also part of the IPO team because Chikaramoto published their stocks in 2018. As part of the IPO team, I was responsible for checking on the organization structure of the company after the IPO. So there are a lot of changes that happens because once a company gets into an IPO, so we had to track down those changes, make a predictive analysis, and then see how the stocks went up and down on a daily basis. So while working for this company, I think I learned more about Japanese culture than I had in the past 4-5 years of living in Japan. Why? Because each and every person in the company was a very, very hardworking, typical Japanese salaryman. So what happens then is I was in this environment where I was taught about the very basics of how Japanese have their work lifestyles, which made me realize that it is not meant for me, of course. But even if it's not, made me think back about to when in Rome, do what the Romans do. If I really want to do something in this company, then I have to be part of that culture. I have to be part of that system. So yeah, it was really challenging 1.5 years while working for this company. Although I think I was working so much because for 3-4 months I had an overtime logging work of more than 100 hours. Not because I was told to, just because I wanted to learn, I wanted to do more things. And I still remember I used to wake up at let's say 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and then go to work because I wanted to make sure that for that single day I had everything prepared and everything was in perfect shape. So I used to go 2-3 hours early and then go home 3-4 hours later. I still remember in 2020, while I was working for this company, for New Year's, they have a lot of stores. And sometimes because I was working for the headquarters, sometimes I also had to go and help out in the stores. I had to actually make a bowl of ramen. And it was really difficult because making a ramen is very simple, but it's a very fast-paced working culture in Japan. So because ramen is a fast food and everything is so fast and it's very, very hot and it's very, very difficult to work in an environment like that. But I still remember that on New Year's, on the 30th of 2019, I went to work from my general office work from 9 o'clock in the morning and I finished at around 6 o'clock. And then from 8 o'clock till midnight, 3 o'clock, I was working for the store because a lot of the part-time workers, they go on holidays during the New Year time. So to fill in up the gaps, so we from the headquarters had to go and help the stores. And during that point of time, in 2019, this store that I went to work for had more than 300 people lining up for eating a single bowl of ramen from 8 o'clock till 12 o'clock in the night. And I think I have never been so stressed. I think I've never lost so much weight in one day than I have ever in my entire life. Because I walked, I was running, I was shouting, it was a chaos, but it was organized chaos. But after that, those 300, 400 people came in, they ate, and then we had to clean the store, we had to close it down. And then next day was, of course, a holiday, but yeah, that one day, I think, was the most tiring plus fulfilling day of my entire life. But yes, working for this company, again, took me to another level of realization of how connections and how networking is very important. I went to a lot of different places. I went to Singapore, I went to Malaysia as well. And I had a lot of tours to Tokyo, Fukuoka, inside Japan as well. I went to Okinawa for testing. And I met a lot of different people from a lot of different companies, from a lot of different walks of life, and which led me to my next adventure, which I'm currently doing right now. So currently right now, I'm working for this company called Y Combinator. And in Japan, AT Kearney Y Combinator is a part of AT Kearney in Japan. So basically, I'm working for AT Kearney, but as a part of Y Combinator. So it's a very confusing process. But yes, I have how do I say business card of Y Combinator as well as AT Kearney. So we work in the office for AT Kearney. So what happens? What is AT Kearney first? So AT Kearney is a very old. Well, it's called Kearney right now. It's a very old American management consulting firm. So management consulting firms are firms that solve any problems from, let's say, recruitment to your basic daily to daily processes of the company to big aspects of mergers and acquisitions. And Y Combinator again is a VC seed investor startup company that invests in startups from which was started in Silicon Valley. So some of the startups that Y Combinator has invested in, I think some of them may be familiar to you, is Airbnb, which just recently in 2020 June, they got their first IPO. Then there was Stripe, then there's Dropbox, and then there's also Reddit. I think a lot of students of you would have heard of Reddit, right? In these days of being very famous because of Elon Musk and also Robinhood strategies. So yeah, so these companies are supported by Y Combinator, and in Japan right now, Kearney is handling all Y Combinator prospects. So right now, I'm actually handling 4 companies. I'm consulting 4 companies on a daily basis, and 2 of those companies are digital marketing companies where they sell goods online. And yeah, and I had no knowledge about digital marketing. And for the last, I think 3-4 months, I studied a lot about digital marketing. I learned a lot about what ad promotions are. And it was really interesting because it was completely different from what I learned for the past 3-4 years. And then from October, I was part of this mergers and acquisition project team, which is currently right now I'm focusing more on. So for the past 1 year, I think in Y Combinator, I have learned about so many different things on a daily basis that is incredible. Because of course, I don't think I was very fit to be a part of Kearney as well as Y Combinator, but I had this chance, I had this opportunity through a very good connection which I had in my previous company. And I took the chance because I thought I would never get it again to step up my career, obviously. And then for the first 3 months, it was really difficult because I wasn't a freshly hired graduate. They didn't see me as a freshly new graduate. They saw me as a person who has 2 years of work experience. So the expectation levels during that point of time was really difficult because you had to present reports at an unbelievably fast time, but which was difficult at first. But again, it became a normal routine now. And also it was very difficult at first because since last year because of the corona pandemic, I haven't been to the office a lot of times, but we have been working remotely throughout. And Japan is a very, very, very analog society. And for the first few months, working remotely was a nightmare because logistics wise, also a lot of other things that have to be done in Japanese way we weren't able to do it. We had to go to the office anyways because Japan being a very technologically backward society, which is a very ironical thing because Japan is known to be famous for technology and other things, but their companies are not. Their companies are very analog, very backward in technological aspect. But now all of these companies are adapting to the current situation, and now it's very easy to work. But before it was really difficult to work remotely. So yeah, this is what I'm doing currently. I'm actually out of the 4 companies right now, I'm mostly focusing on the mergers and acquisition part of the project for Kearney actually. And for Y Combinator is again the 4 VCs that I'm looking after right now. So yes, so this is what I had to say about myself. And I think I think I missed out a lot of points that I wanted to say because if I talk about everything right now, I think there is no point of you guys wouldn't contact me again. So because I want you guys to contact me again, I haven't told a lot about things. I haven't shared a lot of my pictures that I wanted to share. So that is expectation on how you guys can connect with me. So just to summarize my entire talk, it's what I came up with these 5 points, which while jotting down these 5 points, I realized that it's not every day. It's actually every day that you have these five circles that connect with each other. So first is of course opportunity. So in the beginning, you always have an opportunity. Even if you don't, you have to fight for it. And an opportunity, as I said in my first few slides, ichigo ichie, it comes in a lifetime or it doesn't. When it doesn't, then you have to look for that opportunity, which is of course very difficult at first, but there's nothing, it's not impossible. So yeah, so an opportunity leads to you taking up the opportunity and then being flexible with that opportunity. Even if that opportunity doesn't suit you, even if you think it's a very big risk that you have to take, I would say you should take the risk and be flexible with it at first and then assess for the result. Which brings me to patience, where while you're assessing your flexible opportunity result, you have to be very patient and you have to be very, very thoughtful about what priorities you put in first while assessing the opportunity that you took the risk of taking, and then outreaching. So I'm sure that a lot of students right now are thinking about what they really want to do and how should they go about it, because there are a lot of options right now. But one thing that any option has in common is how you take that similar opportunity and make it into a different, and you make it into a lot of different opportunities. And that is where you stand out from the others. Working on a single opportunity and being flexible while patiently waiting for the result is very easy. But then making that opportunity into a couple of different opportunities, and then like a pyramid scheme, you kind of diverge your opportunity into, let's say, 1,000 different opportunities, which you can keep up as a backup. That is what in the end makes you unique. And I think every day when I work, I open my laptop, I really think that I'm very lucky that I have reached at this level, because all the opportunities that I had in my hand and all the opportunities that I didn't take is what makes me who I am. Maybe if I had skipped upon a thing or if I had taken a different door, then I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be satisfied with my life, which I am right now. So yes, so these 5 points I think are what summarizes everything that I think that makes a good career, a good fulfilling life. Because having a career is not just everything. It's being satisfied with it is what makes it everything. And once you're not satisfied with what you have, is what makes you unhappy. So yes, these are the 5 points that I think are very useful for assessing your current situation and then, of course, predicting your future goals. Yes. So I think that's the end of my talk. And I think I wanted to talk about a lot more. And I really thought about what should I talk about to students, and then what should I talk about that can affect them. But one thing that I want to talk about is is what my uni experience has been, and it is not a journey that a lot of people take. And I think I took a lot of risks for the past 6-7 years. And even though there were points of time where I thought, oh no, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. But in the end of the day, that was just for a single moment. And the next moment I realized that I had to go back to work. So having regrets is very easy, but not having regrets is very difficult. So I think taking a difficult road is always takes a lot of sacrifice, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy. And in that case, obviously those connections, your friends, your parents, they come a lot in support of you. And yes, so I would say what you could take from my 7 years of being in Japan is take risks, but don't be disappointed with the risk that you take. Even if you think that it's not good, make it good, because that's how you outreach yourself into making a different person, being unique from everyone else. So that's it for my speech. That's it for my talk. And Swati ma'am, I think I would pass it on to you.
To agree to the fact that you gave us a glimpse of your complete academic life in Japan and the lessons that you learned there. Like, you have to be flexible according to your environment. And then, like, you have to respect different cultures from different walks of people from different walks of life. And the most important thing that I really liked about your thing was delayed gratification. Okay, and how you learn from one's mistakes, and then the Japanese working culture, and like it was so well summarized, Ankit. Thank you for giving us a glimpse into.
Hello, Ankit Bhaiya. I just wanted to ask that how did you prepare yourself, like from 12th to directly go outside India in a very like different place? You don't know anything there. Like, how did you prepare yourself to study there? Like, how did you take the decision from directly from 12th, from a basic thing, from a school to such a big university?
Hi, it's him, right?
Yeah.
Hello, thank you for the question. How do I prepare myself? I think I get very excited over opportunities that are very stupid. I think stupid as in very, it's not generally taken by the normal people. So I think it excites me a lot that, oh, I'm doing it because not a lot of people have done it. So yes, I think I didn't prepare myself a lot, but yes, I did take a couple of Japanese classes before going to Japan, thinking it would help me a, a little, but actually it didn't help me at all. And I still remember I was there for 2 weeks in Kolkata taking Japanese classes, but the only thing that I was doing was eating a lot of food. And yeah, but yes, but what advice I could give to you is while choosing a university is, I mean, no university is a bad university, and I don't think no university is also a good university as well. It's those 4 years or 3 years experience at that university that makes it good or bad for you. So of course you should have a goal in your mind that after 4 years, what person do I want to be? Do I want to be someone, okay, let's say, has a very good connection all over the world and can speak in different languages, or has a very good how do I say, a setup for a career in your future? So again, it's what you want to be in the next 4 years is what you have to think about, and the rest falls in place, honestly. And also be excited. That's the biggest thing that you have to be. You should be, actually.
So, my dear Anshu, where is Anshu? Anshu, is it Anshu?
I thought Anshu.
Anshu, okay. Our cute little Ankit. The first thing, more than being your teacher, I remember we had gone to UK.
Yes,
The first ever student exchange visit to UK, and you were just 11 of you, and Jessica ma'am and I had gone. You were there with us, and it was such a pleasure to have you with us. I remember the ever smiling, even now you're smiling, the ever endearing smile you have, and that time also you were so articulate, you were so wise, whatever you said. So you showed the people that I can go up to that level, and the way you have spoken about your life in all these years, amazing. And at the cost of I told the same thing when Vishal had spoken. Persons like you all who have a very good human quality, your politeness, your human values that you all have, that takes you up to that level. I've already excellence only. You have to be equipped with many other things. And the most important is the human values and the way you all present yourself. So polite, so well behaved. And going to Japan, I've heard that country, people are very polite and extremely well behaved and all. Who else but Ankit can go there and sustain for so many years? Thank you very much for telling us all that you said. It really thrills. It thrills our heart. Thank you, Ankit. Wonderful.
I think that the first UK, actually, I still remember I was in class 10 and we had interviews before going to with chairman.
Yes.
So we had interviews, and that was the first interview of my life actually. And I have never been so nervous in my life. And now every time I sit for an interview or let's say a presentation, I still have those. I still remember that time when Binati ma'am, you and Jessica ma'am and chairman were there in that room and asking a question. And yeah, I think that UK trip changed me a lot because I was a very shy person before that. And I think after that, I became more proactive, started doing a lot of things. All thanks to you, Binati ma'am.
Yeah. And I won't feel bad to say that that was the first ever student exchange visit. We have all these years we're having every year, but that was the best student exchange visit. Thank you so much, Ankit, my Ancho.
Thank you, Binati ma'am. Thank you, Ankit. Now I think SIRS class 10.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, you guys can stop calling me sir.
Good afternoon, Bhaiya. I'm Sanjana Patil from SIRS.
Hi, Sanjana.
And we are watching you talk here in this auditorium of our school. Me and most of my friends had a doubt, kind of query, that how to score maximum marks in class 10 board exam.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about this. I'm not a very good person to give advice on academics. Also, I mean, it's one thing is, of course, how to, again, it comes to how you prioritize your time. For me, during class 10 and class 12 boards, I still remember because I didn't study a lot, but I think I studied on a constant basis. So it's not that one day I'm going to skip studying, the second day I'm going to play. It's always being constant with how much you study. So for academic, also for the university perspective, also for scoring good grades, it's always a constant perspiration that you have to put in. It's not just one day you study for 10 hours and the next day you study for 1 hour. Maybe one day you study for 3 hours, the next day also you study for 3 hours. I think that makes it that makes a better mark on your academics rather than just preparing for a couple of days and not doing anything for the next couple of days. So yeah, I think that advice I could give you. And also, of course, when coming to prioritizing how your time is, for me, I used to always sleep early for some reason till class 10. From class 12, I started sleeping very late. I think that was a very good quality that I'm very jealous that I don't have it right now. I still remember I used to go to bed by 8 o'clock. I was in hostel by then. I was actually in hostel in class 9 and we had to go to bed by 10 o'clock. So I think that was very important because when you go to sleep early, you kind of wake up early and then you can revise everything. So yeah, having your priorities set right is one of the biggest things that you can do for getting good scores in your academics, of course.
Thank you.
There is Midushi Parelkar from 9B. Midushi?
So my question was that how did you face your fears, like, the stress of exams and everything in your 10th and 12th grade?
I think the stress part, for example, right now, I don't remember that much, but of course, my friends, because in class 9 and 10, I was in the hostel and we used to study together. So I think that stress part, I've never really felt that exam stress because I have to get really good marks. Or if I don't get good marks, I think I'm going to not be a good person. I think I never took the stress of exams apart, but I will be very honest, I was very stressful just before the exams. For example, 10 minutes before the exam. So when the teacher comes and gives you the paper, that's when the stress comes in. But let's say 10 days before, I was never really stressed for exams. And even now while working, I think, yeah, there's a lot of stress, but then thinking the stress to be a stress, my parents always tell me that if you think your stress is stress, then you are very stressed. But just if you think your stress to be a part of something else, then you don't think of it as stress or something negative for you. So yeah, I think don't be stressed is a very bad advice. Just don't think of it as stress. Think of it as nervousness. Think of it as that you have worked really hard and you want to put in good results. So, and you are very nervous about the fact that you are going to get good results. So I think, yeah, don't think of it as stress, but instead think of it as nervousness. And I think that would help you get better marks, or maybe you do already get better marks, but obviously to fight that fear of exams or tests.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we have Kirtana. Kirtana Doshi.
Hello, Ankit. My question, what were some difficult experiences you had as an Indian in Japan, apart from like food and language? What were some experiences which taught you to adjust in Japan as an Indian?
Wow, that's a very good question. I think yes, being an Indian in Japan or just being any foreigner in Japan and having your own identity is very very. I mean, keeping that identity for all these years is very difficult. And yes, I think I have faced a lot of difficulties, but I wouldn't say a lot of difficulties because I think I have been always a lucky person because I haven't had to face any, let's say, stereotypes or any racism as such. But yeah, there are stereotypes everywhere, right? And so one basic stereotype in Japan is Indians always eat curry, and it's always spicy. I think that's what every time I talk to any person who is who's Japanese, they ask me, "Oh, do you really eat curry 7 days a week?" And then I don't even know how to cook curry, honestly. So, I mean, I do now, but before I didn't. So that I think I can answer that. And once you come in conversation and then once you talk, then obviously those stereotypes go away. So obviously, even if a Japanese person comes to India, we would say, "Oh, do you really eat kacha machli?" Then obviously they do eat. So I think stereotypes do exist. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing as well. But I don't think I ever had to face very harsh difficulties because I know the environment is in such a way that, of course, they are very accepting of foreigners. They're very accepting of people. But of course, they're also very afraid of foreigners. And living with that, and I never thought of it as they're afraid of me. I always thought that they're welcoming of me. So I think I never thought of it as a difficulty unless and until it was a really big difficulty. But yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Ankit, can I ask you something?
Definitely not.
Yeah, Ankit, tell me one thing about SAI that you still miss so badly.
I think it has to be Wednesday cafeteria food. but apart from that, I think the assemblies I miss the most. And I think I said it last time during the alumni reunion as well. We always think assemblies are as a very tedious procedure. Today we also have an assembly and we have to listen to people speak. But in Japan and Japanese companies, they have a thing called chore, which is a morning session where all the workers, where all people, they gather, they discuss the events for the day. And we talk about the vision of the company, and it's an everyday process. And first, obviously, it sounds very tedious, but I realize that most of the learnings that we get are from those assemblies and listening to, let's say, Chairman Sir speak, Shilpi Man speak, and Principal Sir speak. So listening to all these people speak, again, listening to their life stories. At first, we always thought, it's going to be long. We have to wait in the sun. But remembering now, I really miss those assemblies and standing in the line in a disciplined manner because right now it's a everyday thing for us. And Yes, and if I think in my assembly, in my chore, in my morning meetings right now, if I could come up with something to share my experience, I think it would be a better morning meeting for us. But yeah, I miss those assemblies a lot.
Okay, thank you, Ankit. I think we'll call it a day. And Ankit, let me tell you, it was indeed a pleasure interacting with you. And you are one of the brightest stars who's kept the banner of SAI flying high. And may you always achieve whatever you want in life. And all the best for your future endeavors. God bless you. And let me get my last term right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Arigato gozaimashita. Am I right?
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Yeah, that's thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ankit. God bless you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this alumni talk. Thank you so much.